You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I am your host tonight. My name is Nick Walsh, and if you listened to last night, then you know that I am once again alone for this one. Just fucking kidding. Fucking psych. Got you guys. I'm here with Vinny. Vinny, what's up, dude?
Let you go it alone. I had to get in on this with you.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you're here. After last night, you know, I did the first half by myself, and that was fine. I think it worked out pretty okay. But I'm very glad to have Vinny here with me tonight to help break down part 2 of our week 6 preview. I guess, how's your week been, Vin? Been pretty good?
It's been kind of shit, but I'm glad to be doing a podcast now. So
yeah, now it's Friday night. We should say that for the sake of any information that you guys are hearing on this, it's Friday night. And the mood is right for me and Vinny to get drunk and record a podcast. But that's where we're at in terms of timing. So if you see information that came out on Saturday that we're not covering, that's why. We are going to get into 6 games this week. But before we do so, Vin, we are here courtesy of MyBookie. There's nothing else like the NFL except for maybe professional wrestling. And there's no better way to make the games even more exciting than to bet on them. So do the smart thing, go to mybookie.ag because no one gives you more ways to win than they do. And use that promo code Let's Talk. It gets you a 100% sign-up bonus up to $1,000. Do you know if MyBookie has lines on wrestling? I know some books do.
I haven't looked because I would bet on it and I don't want to bet on it. So
yeah,
that would just fuck me up. So I'm not sure. Now I'm going to look into it. Thanks, Walsh.
Yeah. I'm sorry I did that to you. I would just because I did an unpaid like endorsement of Montucky Cold Snacks on the recap podcast.
I heard that.
I'd like to do an unpaid endorsement of All Elite Wrestling Wednesday nights on TNT because that shit also rules. It is making me like American wrestling again. WWE can suck a dick. They're not very good.
Well put.
That's all I have to say about that. But Vinny, we got 6 games to get to. If you didn't hear part 1, make sure to check that out. I covered 7 games. And then also just to remind you guys, the teams on the bye this week are Buffalo, Oakland, Indianapolis, and Chicago. Vin, are you getting affected by any of those byes big time, or is it not too bad for you this week?
Just Darren Waller. So I'm dipping my toes into the tight end pool for the first time this season. And, it sucks. Like I'm playing Jimmy Graham and it just feels like not good at all. So that's all that's affecting me so far. What about you?
I don't really have too many issues. I mean, like I've been playing Marlon Mack on and off, but like I don't really need to play him in any sort of situation. Other than that, it really hasn't been a big deal for me. So I think this is a relatively easy bye week to deal with, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, it's a good thing you brought up Jimmy Graham there because we will talk about him later in the Monday night game. But before we get to that, we've got 5 more games to get to first. And also I wanted to throw in some information updates from yesterday. So 3 things real quick, or I guess 4 things. 1, Marquise Brown, still not practicing. He will be a game time decision. Just keep that in mind as you go. I know I said he was probably likely to play. He seems like a true game time decision. Makes Mark Andrews a pretty solid stud, I think, this week. But we'll see otherwise. Are you on the Snead train by any chance? You know, you seem like you would be on the Snead train.
In a former life, but definitely not now in 2019.
Fair enough. You've learned your lesson in terms of getting on the Snead train.
I don't learn. But I hope that's one that I did learn. I hope he doesn't do well.
Yeah, I don't think he will. If he does, like of course I say that, and like Willie Snead is going to be in like the winning DraftKings millionaire maker lineup this week. Like, of course, you know, just because that's the way life works. But we'll see how it goes. Next bit of news, Tyreek Hill, I said he was going to be out yesterday. He is trending towards actually playing. So I think that makes Pringle and Hardman a little bit difficult to play for me. I am still in on Robinson. Do you have any thoughts in terms of that game?
It's going to be wild. I think they changed Tyreek to a game time decision. So that's, at least it's a 1:00 game. So you have that. So you get more clarity, obviously, before the bulk of the games gets going. But like the rest of the guys, I don't really know which one I'm leaning towards at all. I guess Robinson, like you're saying, but I feel like Hardman and him have the exact same outcome. Pringle, you're chasing points, I feel like. And that's kind of where I'm leaning on that. I would feel much safer not as good as they could hit a home run. Like they could easily give you like no points as well.
Fair enough. And then the other update is that Kenny Stills is a game time decision here. I don't think that should be factor into too many things. If he does play, maybe downgrade Will Fuller a little bit. I don't think he should be playing Kiki Kute either way. I don't know. Do you have any contrary takes there?
Not really. No, you pretty much that sums it up.
All right, fair enough. Well, let's get right into these last 6 games of the week, and we'll start with arguably the best game of the week and like the most exciting game of the week. We have San Francisco at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are a 3.5-point favorite. The over/under is 50.5 here. Am I wrong for thinking San Francisco? I'm coming out and just saying it now. Am I wrong for thinking that like San Francisco is going to win this game? Like, I'm surprised the Rams are a 3.5-point favorite.
I'm surprised the Rams are favorite, but I think the Rams win this game.
Yeah, I think I understand what you mean there in terms of the Rams winning this game. I don't know. I have a lot of trouble sort of discerning what's going to happen here. And we'll start on the San Francisco side of the ball. I think it's fair to say Garoppolo is not really a play most weeks just based on how they're calling the plays. Does that jive with you?
Yeah, he doesn't have enough volume. He's doing very well when he does have, because they run it so much, it sets up the pass, but it hasn't been anything too last week with the George Kittle touchdown and some bombs to like Goodwin or random touchdowns to Pettis. So you're not really getting that much out of Garoppolo. Like he doesn't really have a ceiling right now, and his floor is pretty low as well. So there's really not any middle ground you can even settle on to want to play him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's hard to really make an argument for him. I'm a little perplexed by their running back situation too, and we'll go through this, but I'm going to go through the breakdown from last week in terms of their snaps and their usage. So Matt Breida, 35% of the snaps. And sorry, just before I get through this, Jeff Wilson was inactive, who was previously Jeff Wilson goal line monster. Matt Breida, 35% of snaps, 11 carries, 114 yards, and a touchdown. Of course, a lot of that came on the 83-yard touchdown run he had early in the game. He threw in also 3 targets, 3 catches, 15 yards. And then in terms of red zone work, 1 red zone carry, 1 red zone target. Tevin Coleman, 33% of snaps, so a little bit less than Breida. 16 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. 2 red zone carries, no looks in the passing game. Raheem Mostert, 32% of snaps, 7 carries for 34 yards. I think that's a little misleading, though, because most of Mostert's snaps and carries were sort of in garbage time in the fourth quarter. So it seems like it's kind of going to be a Breida Coleman split with a sprinkling of Mostert at this point. Which of these guys do you prefer, and do you buy more than one of them as a start? Because this running offense has really been prolific to this point.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. And I think the fact that it's been so prolific and efficient is why I keep pounding the drum to just trade these guys away. Just because they're only, like you said, they're playing about 30. The most valuable guys, I think, are Matt Breida and Tevin Coleman, and they're rocking, the 30 there each. And they're both getting work and being really efficient. So I think you should sell high on these guys. I don't think it's going to keep up. But it is the way they want to run their offense. But the pecking order for me is definitely Matt Breida first, then Tevin Coleman, and then the rest is a wash for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hoping that this week in a game where they're not likely going to be out of it, that we see more of 45% type snaps for both Breda and Coleman rather than like the 35% that we were looking at last week. And I think if this running game stays efficient, they can continue to both be starters, both with lower floors, but both be guys who you can start on a week-to-week basis for the most part. I'm going to keep starting both of them in leagues where I have them unless I have better options, which, as we go into bye weeks, I doubt you really do for the most part. So I think I'm still on them, but I'm very, very interested in how the snap share and the work share goes in a game that we don't project to be a blowout.
Yeah, very fair. Also, the injuries are pretty big for them. They lose Kyle Juszczyk, Mike McGlinchey, and Joe Staley are going to be out. So I think that's going to affect the running game too. Maybe not so much. Like I still think they'll be effective, but it's still going to leave, it's going to leave some yards and some touchdown potential out there for them, which normally wasn't there in the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Shanahan's a creative guy, and I think he can play call around this a little bit and play design around this a little bit, but still, it's not ideal at all in terms of the running game's efficiency. And then this is a point that I wanted to bring up with you and see what you think. Like, am I like direly overthinking this or not? So George Kittle before this had been running routes on about 67% of the dropbacks for Jimmy Garoppolo, which is not great. It's not like you want that to be closer to like 80% in terms of a pass catcher. Now with these guys being hurt, these guys who are big time blockers, are you concerned at all that George Kittle is going to be blocking even more than he was previously, which was already a lot, and that could kind of fuck up George Kittle's fantasy production? I'm asking this for myself because I own him fucking everywhere.
I know you are. And dude, I think I think you're overthinking it. I wouldn't really be too worried if Kyle Shanahan's going to do that. He is a massive douche. Like, you can't just be I think more opportunities. I don't think they're going to keep him into block. I think they'll design more passing plays to him, maybe closer to the line of scrimmage or more play action stuff for him. So I don't really think it's going to leave him into block more so. I really think it's going to up his passing volume, if anything.
Okay, because I've been looking at their next two tight ends on the depth chart are Ross Dwelly, who's a second-year tight end, who is like a pass-catching specialist and can't block for shit. So I was like, fuck, if that guy's on the field more with Juszczyk out, like, then Kittle's totally going to be the blocking guy. But then their third guy is Levine Toilolo, and that motherfucker can block. So, like, if you get Levine Toilolo in there, then you've got Kittle as the pass-catching tight end, and everything's cool. I'm clearly overthinking and over-researching all aspects of this, but it's freaking me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, don't worry about it, dude. And he just had his best game, so.
Yeah, that is very true.
You ruined that good feeling with these really bad, dark thoughts.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is my job, dude, to be pessimistic about shit like this. Can we agree that no wide receiver here is worth playing?
Yeah, you can't play a single one. And I don't think you're going to be able to, unless something drastically changes with this offense's mentality, that you can play like for the rest of the year for the foreseeable future.
No, I mean, this past game, which, again, not necessarily representative of like a close back and forth game, but no wide receiver had more than 4 targets or more than 63% of the snaps. And the snap share thing is the biggest thing for me.
It's ridiculous.
If you're not going to be on the field for more than 60% of snaps on a team that wants to run the ball first, absolutely not. Like, no chance.
Yeah, it's not happening for them. It's a big letdown too, because idiots like a decent amount of Pettis, and it's just like so shot. It's just terrible.
Oh yeah, I've dropped him like everywhere.
Yeah, he's been long gone, but it just where you took him and what the expectation was from last year is just it's a shame.
Yeah, what can you do? All right, moving to the Rams side of the ball. This is a tough matchup against the Niners D. So let's start with the run game a little bit. Todd Gurley is doubtful. So it looks like Malcolm Brown will get the bulk of the work, and they've hinted at Darrell Henderson maybe finally seeing the field. What's your take on this backfield situation as a Gurley owner? Are you just rolling out Brown and hoping for the best here?
Yeah, so, I mean, Todd Gurley, I'm assuming is definitely not going to play. It'd probably be the best move for the Rams as well. And then the creeping doubt came in where I'm like, I moved Malcolm Brown in, and I'm like, I didn't know what to do because I'm like, I have Malcolm Brown for this exact fucking reason. And I was still thinking like, yo, maybe pick up Preston Williams and flex him instead. I'm like, no, dude, just play Malcolm Brown. He's going to get a shitload of time to work. But that I think shows how freaked out I am that this is happening. Like I worried about this all off season, and now it's happening. So I'm rolling Malcolm. Expectation that he'll get somewhere between 20 touches and do, decently well. I'm sure they'll mix in Henderson because they're not stupid and they should get him some touches and break a bit. But I feel like that's kind of where I'm at with the expectation level for Malcolm Brown.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, you did prepare for this completely. Yep. And I also did recommend playing Preston Williams on the first podcast this week, but definitely play Malcolm Brown over him.
I know.
For the record.
I came back to my senses pretty quickly on that.
Yeah.
I'm not playing a Dolphin.
Even in Dolphins week, dude. This is Dolphins week, but
I know. But.
Anyway, let's move to the pass game because I think you covered that pretty well. So, Goff hasn't really been a week in, week out starter, but he has had a pretty good past 2 weeks. Are you doing this against San Francisco?
In a game where they don't have Gurley, I could see Goff throwing like possibly getting close to 50 pass attempts, and that seems to be trending to, they're kind of been like their average for what the kind of games they're involved in. This might be more back and forth, so that could limit his passing attempts, but I still feel like this is a game where he's going to get up there like 45, 50 pass attempts. So if you wanted to stream him, I would, but it's a rough matchup as the on every team they've played. They have teams, but they're riding high on like crushing. I'd be a little scared in that aspect.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really like trying to go out of my way to play Goff here, but I don't think it's the worst thing. In terms of his pass catchers, I'm pretty much on Cooper Kupp and Gerald Everett. I mean, Kupp remains an every week starter, I think for the rest of the season, or at least until further notice. And also the Niners have been more vulnerable in the middle of the field than they have been on the outside. So that makes me a little bit worried about Robert Woods and then Brandon Cooks, who's coming off a concussion. Gerald Everett has seen 19 targets over the past 2 weeks. To me, he's like an easy tight end start.
I have a little less faith in him. I feel like his work has increased like throughout the last couple weeks, but I would still be a little scared. But he's definitely up there on the streaming pecking order. So I don't hate it, but I'm like really digging it.
Okay, that's fair. Wide receiver wise, are you on anyone other than Kupp, or are you?
Kupp pretty well. I'm very scared for Robert Woods this game. Cooks, if he's out there, you play him, but also scary, like you said. And I think that pretty much wraps that up.
All right, fair enough. Who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with the Rams.
I'm going to take the Niners. All right, let's move to Atlanta at Arizona. Another what should be a fun game, not necessarily a good game, but like a fun game, just for a lot of slinging the fucking pig around the field. Atlanta's a 2.5-point favorite here. The over/under is 51.5. On the Atlanta side of the ball, we've got Matt Ryan. I mean, he's like a for sure run out here. Arizona's defense has been absolute bullshit. Do you have any dissenting opinions on Matt Ryan, or?
No, and in fact, I think Matt Ryan starts this week well and ends it well for like the first time all season. You won't have a panic attack at halftime or in the third quarter when he has fucking 5 points. So he'll put up a good week once again, no problem.
Okay, let's talk about his pass catchers. I mean, is this just to start everyone? Like all four of them?
Yes. Like I can't think of any. Like Calvin Ridley, to go the fuck off. Mohamed Sanu has momentum and, should eat over the middle. And Hooper is a fucking tight end 1. So I don't see the problem with playing any of these guys.
Yeah, Hooper, I think, might be like the number 1 tight end on this slate. I mean, you can make an argument for Kelsey and Ertz, I think, but like.
Not when he's playing the fucking Cardinals.
Yeah, it's tough to get away from him, that's for sure. I haven't done a ton of daily research, but if Hooper is not like the number 1 price guy, I'm going to have him everywhere. So we'll see how it goes there. running backs. It was basically a split backfield last week with Freeman getting, I think, 53% and Ito Smith getting about 47% of the snaps. I'd still rather be playing Freeman, but I think you can kind of play both. Is that a bad take?
No, it's not the worst. Ito Smith definitely seems to be more of their goal line preferred guy. Whenever I'm like watching the games, he's usually in there, much to my dismay as a heavy Freeman owner. But that seems to be trending that direction. And as much as Freeman's out touching Ito Smith, like there's still, like you said, with the snap share and everything, it's still more even than it's leaning towards Freeman. So, yeah, Ito Smith, you could sneak in. I would be still pretty scared. Probably have to be a deeper league for me to want to do that. And then Freeman, I actually think, has a decent game here. This is probably the best matchup he's had. And, Cardinals are just getting gashed, giving up almost 4.5 yards per carry. So if there's a game for Freeman to get it going in the road, it would be this game. If he doesn't, I would be very nervous.
Yeah, and in terms of, I don't have the specific goal line stats, like you said about Smith, but I do have red zone stats. And Freeman got 3 carries in the red zone last week compared to 2 for Smith. Each of them got 2 targets in the red zone. Again, I don't have that broken down in terms of proximity to the actual end zone. But to me, that comforts me a little bit in terms of Freeman and his touchdown equity. I think this is a situation where whichever one of them ends up scoring a touchdown is obviously going to be the guy where you're like, oh, that was the obvious play. But I think Freeman is definitely a solid play this week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
All right, Arizona's side of the ball. We have Kyler being an incredible play this week. Like Kyler, like QB1 this week. Like not QB1 overall, but like a top 12 quarterback this week, right?
Yeah, if you have Kyler, you're playing him over most everybody, I think. Unless you have like Mahomes or Watson, I don't think there's any reason to talk yourself into playing the other guys over Kyler.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, just to hammer that home a little bit, he's had a consistent floor, and Kyler has a 2.8% touchdown rate so far this season. I mean, the league average is somewhere around 4.5%. So Kyler has been like consistently solid without even throwing touchdowns at the rate that you would expect a quarterback to. So this seems like a good week for that to change. I'm going to have a lot of Kyler in daily. I think he's a great play in season long. Get on board. His pass catchers should be back healthy for the most part too. He should be getting Christian Kirk and Damiere Byrd, who was leading them in snaps as an outside receiver prior to injury. Both of them should be back healthy this week. To me, the 2 guys that you want to play in terms of wide receivers are still Fitz as the number 1 guy, and then Christian Kirk is a close second.
Yeah, well said. I was very wrong about that. Me and Matt I was all over, like, I kept saying Andy Isabella because I thought he would be on the outside at least. Not really the case, so not going to really predict anything outside of Larry or Kirk pretty much for the rest of the season.
Kingsbury actually did say this week that they want to get Isabella a little bit more involved. But
he said that last too. He's like, yeah, Isabella's in now. I'm like, that's cool. It really didn't come out that way.
Yeah. The big news in the backfield is that David Johnson is questionable with a back injury. It was revealed that he played through it this past week. If he's out, Chase Edmonds is an immediate plug and play for me. And I think even if David Johnson does play, I think 1, you play him, and 2, I think Chase Edmonds might have some flex appeal as well.
Yeah, I mean, with this over-under, you can get away. Like, I know where we're just saying like Ito Smith is considerable. I think with, the latest news and how much work Edmonds has kind of been creeping up with, catching up to David Johnson in a weird way. In there too. It's, again, shitty, and you probably don't unless but you could definitely get production out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he got 37% of the snaps last week, and he was efficient and got in the end zone. Like, I really don't hate him at all. I think in general, if you have a question about whether or not you should start a guy in this game, the answer is probably you should start him, like, just at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's no defense in this game.
No,
it's going to easily go over, and there's going to be a ton of scoring. Like
none defense whatsoever.
It's going to be great.
Who are you taking here?
Man, I feel like Dan Quinn's job is on the line, so I'm going to go with the Falcons here.
All right, I'm going to take Arizona because I like fun. All right. Let's move on to a way less fun game. The Cowboys at the Jets. Dallas is a 7-point favorite. The over-under is 42.5. On the Dallas side, just some news and notes here. Tyron Smith, the left tackle, Lyle Collins, the right tackle, and Randall Cobb are all questionable. Dak's splits, we've talked about this, with and without Tyron Smith, are extremely stark. That being said, the Jets have gotten almost no pressure on the quarterback so far this year, so, I'm not fucking worried about it. Do you have any other, takes on these injuries or?
No, I mean, it'll affect Dak. I actually think this is going to be a down game for Dak. I think the Cowboys are just going to run it so much because the Jets are just so beat up. I think regardless of Darnold coming back, it might be a little more competitive at first, but the Cowboys are just going to beat them. And I think Zeke is going to finally blow up. So
this is the Zeke blow up week for you.
For me, yeah. It's just the Jets defense is kind of decimated up front, and I think, Zeke's just been he's playing over 95% of the snaps pretty much every week, and he's bound to explode at some point. I think it's going to be this week.
Okay. I don't think you're wrong there. I think that's definitely within the realm of possibility. That being said, if it's a down week for Zach, are you down on Cooper and Gallup as well?
Yeah, and I think it's just because they command so much target share, and Gallup's been so good in the games that he's been active. Amazing. So I'm on both of them. See limited targets and stuff like that as far as I'm concerned in the way that I think the game is going to go. But I feel you got to play these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing all four of those guys. I think if you've probably been riding Dak if you have him. And I think Cooper and Gallup, Gallup is approaching must-play territory for the most part. So I think all four of those guys are guys that you want to have in your lineup pretty much no matter what. On the Jets side of the ball, Sam Darnold is back. Chris Herndon has a goddamn fucking hamstring injury. I am so mad.
Did you pick him up anywhere?
I owned him in one league in the Brick League, dude. I've been holding on to him for fucking 4 weeks. And then I saw that hamstring injury and they were unlikely to play until week 8. And I was I'm dropping this fucker right now. I'm not holding on any longer. Cause every week I was you made this statement with this draft pick, just hold on to him and be right about him. And then it's always my goddamn ego getting in the way of that shit,
Yeah, that's real dumb. I scolded Quarter at our draft. I was why the fuck would you even pick that guy? He's not eligible even to play until week 6. You think you're really going to hold on to him? And, lo and behold, he dropped him.
Yeah, well.
You on the other hand.
Yeah, I get fucking grudges in my head. You know how I am. Anyway, I need to be right about this. But
you're not.
Yeah, whatever. He's going to come back for their easy stretch of the schedule, and he's going to fucking slap. It's going to be fine.
Can we talk about how cool that stretch is, too? It's – or just hold – not you dropped Herndon, but not Robbie Anderson in a bunch of leagues. And that stretch coming up is going to be very nice.
Oh, yeah, for Crowder, Anderson, Herndon, if he's healthy, Le'Veon, they're all just going to crush for 4 solid weeks straight.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Beware of people asking to trade for those guys because they are just trying to get in on that sweet vacation strip.
Yeah, and try and trade for those guys. Also.
Yes, the inverse is also true.
Yeah, try and buy low on Robbie Anderson because this probably isn't going to be a week for him. And if it isn't, you might even just, you could give up a fucking kicker for him after this week with the way some people are, So do it. That being said, Le'Veon, great play this week. The volume's there. Darnold should take some pressure off. I know that the Cowboys defense is good to okay. Le'Veon's still a very, very solid play.
Yeah, he just does so much. And the amount of touches he has is just it absolutely insane. And I feel with Darnold back, he gets that little bump where it's just you could possibly score touchdowns now with this team. So Le'Veon Bell, huge bump. Also another guy you could probably go out there and try to trade for. Maybe, I don't know if you're in a more savvy league, they realize how much volume he gets, but possibly if someone just thinks that the Jets suck and want to get rid of him.
Yeah, I think a smart owner is going to be aware that like Le'Veon should be increasing in value as the weeks go on, but maybe you're not in a league with smart owners. In one league, I was able to pick up Chase Edmonds and Malcolm Brown off the waiver wire this week. Like maybe the owners are not that good.
Impressive.
Yeah, I needed to throw that one in there to fucking brag, But anyway, Jets wide receivers, Demaryius Thomas had 9 targets last week. I am not buying any of that. Please just look at this week as an informational week. Please do not play anyone, and then take the information from this week and use it going forward. Am I off base there?
No, you got it.
All right, cool. Who you got in this one?
Dallas.
Yeah, me too. All right. We got 3 more games coming back at you, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Let's Talk Fantasy Football.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, home of the brutally honest fantasy advice you've always needed.
All right, guys, we are back. We got 3 more games, and then we'll get you on out of here. Hopefully we ain't kept you too long, but just a little bit longer for us. Don't worry. These games kind of suck. We'll get through them a little bit quick. Tennessee at Denver. Denver's a 2.5-point favorite, over under of 39. I love those over unders less than 40. Tennessee side, for me, it's just Derrick Henry. Am I off base there?
It's just Derrick Henry for like all they got, and it's a good matchup. It's a really too because Denver's just getting rocked by the running back and haven't given up anything in the passing game, and Mariota and these. When the fuck are you ever going to play them with any ounce of confidence at all?
Yeah. For those of you still hanging on to Delaney Walker, he's played less than 50% of the snaps over the past 2 weeks. I know he's still leading the team in targets, but it seems like for the most part, Jonnu Smith has supplanted him as the number 1 tight end as they sort of transition to a team that wants to just block more. So Walker to me is not a guy that I'm looking to play. I have a question for you on the receivers. I know we just poo-pooed them pretty hard, but I think if you want to risk it, I would do it on A.J. Brown. Am I off base on that one?
Why? Why would you do that?
I don't know. He's talented, and Chris Harris will more likely be covering Corey Davis.
Nah, I'm really – maybe in like daily. I want to be contrarian, but other than that, like, no, not at all.
Okay. For what it's worth, I wouldn't do it in daily anyway because – I don't think there's enough volume to get him to the place where you need to.
So why would you do it in season long?
I don't know. Maybe you're fucking thin at wide receiver. I don't know. I'm just saying if there's one wide receiver you want to play on Tennessee, it's A.J. Brown. It's not Corey Davis.
There's just none. There's none.
Okay, I'll fuck off. Denver side of the ball. Another thing, I think it's pretty easy. Obviously, we're not playing Flacco. Phillip Lindsay and Cortland Sutton and maybe Royce Freeman?
Yeah. I think that's pretty much like the split for Freeman and Lindsay has been very close, and I think you could play both of them. I feel like I've said that every week. And Freeman hasn't fucked you on a bad week, and Lindsay has been the better back, but they're in a very strange offense that's been like pretty decent. They've both been very productive.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lindsay is clearly the better play there. He's the more talented guy, and then he also has 13 red zone carries as opposed to Freeman's 7 red zone carries on the year. So I think that's the definite differentiator. I don't know why I went for alliteration there when I'm like fucking 5 beers in, but
that was impressive, dude. A little stumble, but definitely finished very crisp.
The definite differentiator. That's going to be like my wrestling nickname or whatever.
That's definitely a finisher.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Freeman's been used a little bit more in the pass game, but it's pretty negligible. So I guess that's sort of the difference maker there. And then in this pass game, we've talked about Sutton. We've talked about Sanders. Sutton has more targets on the year. He's been the more consistent guy. Is it the Cortland Sutton show the rest of the rest of the way? Geez, now I'm really stumbling.
Got cocky, dude.
Yeah, I'm trying to use alliteration, dude. What am I doing to myself? Anyway, Cortland Sutton, yeah?
Yeah, man. He's definitely taken that step forward and has been doing great. I mean, I think his stats are a little skewed from last week since he broke away from Hayward on like a really insane play. But, it still happened, and he still got those points. So he's shown big play potential as well. Compared to, like, say, like, inconsistent and up and down, whereas Cortland Sutton's been, like, either getting better or leveling out at, like, a really good lot of yardage, a lot of targets, touchdown upside. Where Manny Sanders is, like, he'll have 1 point or he'll have 15. So I'm definitely leaning Cortland Sutton for the most part. I can play both of them. The matchup looks bad on paper, but I think they'll still both get it done.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I'd definitely be looking for Cortland Sutton more than Sanders, but you're right. I'm not opposed to really either of them. Who you got in this one?
Broncos.
I'm gonna go Titans just because fuck the Broncos. I don't like the Broncos.
I don't like the Titans.
Okay, I really don't like the Titans either. You know what? I hope this game just burns to the ground. I hope they both die. No. Let's move on to Pittsburgh at the Chargers. This is the Sunday night game. Man, they had good intentions making this the Sunday night game.
It's
and
bad luck.
It just did not work out.
What was the last great one? Colts Chiefs was really good.
Yeah.
That might be it. I'm sure there's others, but yeah, like as shit luck and just lots of injuries really fucked him.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of lots of injuries, Devlin Hodges is going to start this game. He honestly didn't look bad when he came in relief of Mason Rudolph, but like I'm not going to put any sort of stock in an undrafted rookie out of Samford University. I had to look up where that place was. It's in Birmingham, Alabama, by the way. I'm not I'm not doing anything with this outside of playing James Conner. And it's because James Conner is their only hope to win the game if they feed him the rock and just like salt the game away with James Conner and are able to have a successful run game. That's their only hope for winning this game. And then if they fall behind James Conner, like with Jalen Samuels out here, James Conner will also be probably their top pass catching option in the short game with a, undrafted rookie quarterback. Like you would think he would be the safety blanket. So James Conner to me is an elite play. And unless you're forced into playing Juju, who's in a tough matchup, I think it's the only play for the Steelers.
I'm with you, dude. 25 plus touches this game. It's like I said, it's the only way they stand a chance. I have a question for you. Press or Juju?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit there.
Preston Williams or Juju?
Preston Williams.
I think I'm with you, which is sad to say that with Smith Schuster. It's a real big problem right now.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't have the QB play. He's not in the slot as much as we want. It's like everything is going wrong for Juju. Nothing is going correctly. If you need to play him, you need to play him. I'm not entirely against it, but like, man, it's not ideal.
No, it's really not.
Chargers side of the ball. Is it safe to say that Phillips shouldn't be an every week starter at this point?
I'm definitely skeptical. I think you can play him this game just because I think they win, and I think Phillips should have at least like 2 touchdowns. So I think he's definitely in the streaming category, but I think that's what he is right now, in the streaming category. Definitely not putting on any spectacular performances and maybe dipping off a bit. But it's just the typical Chargers, man. They're just banged up, and it's not entirely all his fault. He will have his games. Chargers will have their games, but holy shit, man, it's dipping off a little bit, and especially early in the season.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Like the offensive line just took another hit with Mike Pouncey going to IR this week. That's obviously not ideal. But, like, I feel like Phillips' ceiling really isn't there. And in terms of, like, guys I'd rather play this week, like, there is a fucking handful. Like, am I wrong for saying Case Keenum is a better start this week than Phillip Rivers?
Yeah, him, Andy Dalton, potentially Josh Rosen.
Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of plays I'd rather – Baker, I think, is a better play. Like, there's a lot of fucking plays. Kyle Allen – that I think are much better plays than Phillip this week. Like, I think it's almost inexcusable to be starting him unless you're in a 2 QB league.
Fair. I mean, like I said, he could wind up with like 2 touchdowns, but that could be like some kind of in the red zone. I think they're going to run it like a shit ton handily. And I think it's going to be a lot of Melvin and maybe early on some Keenan. I still have a fear for a lot of like Phillips ceiling, Keenan ceiling, really any pass catchers I'm worried about. I think just any sort of run game guys, I'm definitely all over, like Melvin Gordon and Eckler this week.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you on Gordon and Eckler. I think they're both great plays. Eckler, I think, will absorb any of the short pass work, that sort of thing. I'm not worried about Keenan because the Steelers against the slot is like the Cardinals against the tight end in terms of just like hone in on that matchup. So unless Eckler's playing a ton in the slot over Keenan, I think Keenan's a very solid start this week. I think that's a pretty easy one for me. What do you think about Mike Williams, who saw 14 targets last week, only got 6 catches, but like I don't know if I'm trusting that this week either.
No, definitely not. And Harris was on Allen. That's why all the targets went over to Mike Williams. So I'm definitely not buying into that right now. And he's still banged up and hasn't practiced like a full week. Like he's been just not practicing. So it's just, you don't want to put your faith in that, especially when you know you had last week, all those targets were just because Keenan Allen was locked up in a rough matchup.
Yeah, I think you're dead on there. Last point I'll make on the Chargers, Hunter Henry is likely to be back week 7. If he's on your waiver wire and you're a little weak at tight end, pick him up.
Yeah, stash him now. That could help bring Phillip back to life. Who knows? Definitely not this game though, but it could pan out in the next like coming weeks.
Yeah, in that league where I was stashing Herndon, I was starting OJ Howard. And so, like, I have these 2 tight ends on my fucking roster, and I'm like, fuck this. Dropped both of them this week for Gerald Everett and Hunter Henry, and, like, feel just so much better about my life.
You upgraded both spots.
Yeah. I upgraded my start and my stash. so
finally woke up.
Yeah, seriously. Not ideal on my part, but I'm going to take the Chargers here.
Yeah. Sweep it.
All right, last game of the week, Monday night game, Detroit at Green Bay. Green Bay's a 4.5-point favorite. The over-under is 47. I think this is going to be an interesting game. And I say that because Green Bay's run defense, we all know they've been terrible. They've been a run funnel outside of Amari Cooper just fucking their asses last week. Jeez. Jair Alexander, everyone's like, he's the ascendant next cornerback. And then Amari's just like, no, let's hold on a second.
Destroyed him.
I think that's more Amari being good than Alexander being bad, but
no, I definitely agree.
Amari's so good, dude. Fuck, it sucks. Anyway, getting back to this game, Carry On. The guy had 21 touches 2 weeks ago, 28 last week, run that back a week before because they just had their bye. He's the obvious choice here, right?
Yeah, and fresh off the bye, dude, they're going to run it a lot. I think this is going to be a very, very good chess match to watch. You know, in division, primetime game, both defenses are pretty decent. They know each other. I think they're going to run a shitload of Carry On. And I think he will have a great game because Packers are just not well against the rush.
Yeah, it's a carry-on game. I don't see how it gets out of that sort of game script. Like, even if the Packers go up early, we know Matt Patricia's an asshole. We've also Carry On has gotten more passing looks in the past couple weeks than he was doing early on. So it's a carry-on week. I think I'm 99.999% confident that he is a top 7 running back this week.
Yeah. Agreed.
In the past game, they haven't been really, really prolific, but they have thrown deep a lot more than you would kind of expect. And the Packers have given up the 5th most completions of 20 yards plus in the league. I think Galladay is pretty viable, and I'm not entirely against Marvin Jones.
I'm probably more on Marvin Jones just because I think Alexander will be on Galladay. So I feel like Marvin Jones will have the deep opportunity more. So risk option for Marvin Jones going into Monday night, which is a little rough, but I could see him catching like 2 long touchdowns this game. At least definitely has a high upside chance of catching one.
Yeah, I'm not against that at all. I mean, I think both of them are guys that you should be considering this week just because, deep passes have a ton of value. The Lions have shown a propensity to throw it deep, and the Packers are giving that up this year. TJ Hawkinson should be back. Do you have any interest in playing him?
No. Hopefully the bye week lets you kind of sort that out. Maybe you're able to grab someone startable. Like in this matchup, I think I'd rather play Jimmy Graham than Hawkinson.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah, let's actually just fuck it. Let's go right to Jimmy Graham. Detroit's been getting fucking rocked by tight ends. Like
they really have, but it's just, I mean, when you look at like Jimmy Graham's upside here, like it was kind of like dependent on like if Devontae Adams is going to play, and it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So I feel like if Jimmy Graham is going to do anything, like it probably should happen in this game. Like he should be targeted pretty heavily. I feel like in the red zone, they force it to him almost. So I feel like that's always there when you play Jimmy Graham, but in a pretty decent matchup, I think I like him the most out of that. He's probably on your wire. So probably in the stream, I think he's probably the highest guy on my pecking order this week.
Okay. I mean, I have Gerald Everett ahead of him in terms of that, but I think Rodgers is going to have an okay game this week. And like, I have no trust in MVS. I have no trust in Allison. So Jimmy Graham seems to be the logical next conclusion there. Like, I think that's where the points are really going to come from. So yeah, do you have any trust in either of those wide receivers? Do you prefer one to the other?
No, I don't trust them. And like Aaron Rodgers doesn't either. Like he looks, I think our Matt Rodgers said that he like it doesn't look right. They're very off. They have zero chemistry, and it's shown throughout the games. And it's just they were good, and it didn't really come to fruition at all. So I don't think why would you chase that in a rough matchup against the Lions?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. If I was going to play one, I would be playing MVS over Allison, but like that's not a ton of confidence there from me. And again, I think Jimmy Graham's a better play than both of them. With Rodgers, we've been talking about him. To me, I feel like this is the rest of the season. Not a must play, not against starting him. Like, I don't know. Would you rather start like Aaron Rodgers or Andy Dalton this week?
Oh, I was going to make it harder and say, because I definitely would play Dalton. Would you rather play Phillip Rivers or Aaron Rodgers?
I think I would play Rodgers there, but I just said before I would start Kyle Allen, I just went through a laundry list of like mediocre quarterbacks that I would rather play over Phillip Rivers.
Every scrub we mentioned, like I'm playing over Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, we could go through the list again, but I'm sure you guys don't want to hear that. But
I want to hear it. Let's start with Andy Dalton because I always love saying that.
Yeah, I would rather play Andy Dalton than Aaron Rodgers. Cut that audio and just like tape it to my tombstone or something. This is an interesting one. Would you rather play Kirk Cousins against Philly or play Aaron Rodgers?
Jeez. That might be one where I go Aaron Rodgers, just because I think Philly's front is going to ragdoll Cousins. I don't think he gets it done. I'm going to go Rodgers there.
I don't think that's the worst take in the world. I'm having trouble. That's another game where I'm like having trouble figuring out if like the Vikings pass game is going to like actually do something, or if that line is just bad and like Philly's defensive line is good enough that it'll just fuck everything up and like Philly might actually have a chance. I don't know.
I think Philly wins that game.
The NFL is so hard to predict. I would be playing Gardner Minshew over Aaron Rodgers. I think like 100%. Yeah, Jameis, yes. Kyle Allen, I think, yes.
Jared Goff.
Yeah, I think so. What about Case Keenum?
I would probably have to go Rodgers.
Okay.
The matchup's definitely better for Keenum, like we said, but
yeah, that's fair. All right. Let's go to the Packers running game. Aaron Jones just led the team in rushing, targets, receiving yards, and also scored 4 touchdowns. Jamal Williams should be back this week. Are they going to be dumb enough to not use Aaron Jones as much as they should?
You bet your sweet ass they are. Enjoy that game, guys, because that was the last you will see. If he's healthy and active, dude, it's over. They're splitting carries. That's you know it deep down. You definitely know.
I know. Oh man,
someone's got to say it, dude. But yeah, like we said last week, it's like this is the going to go off, and then Jamal Williams like just had practicing, didn't clear concussion protocol yet, but since it's, you got to think the guy's going to be out there, and he's going to be out there just enough to ruin Aaron Jones's ceiling. So he could fall in the end zone. He's definitely more talented and very good, but as long as Jamal Williams exists, his fantasy upside is not what it is when he's not there.
We're still playing Aaron Jones, though, right?
No. I'm joking, dude.
Oh.
Yes, you fucking play Aaron Jones.
Okay.
He's too good.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how much this guy shows how good he is, and then the coaching staff, like we thought we were done with that with McCarthy leaving, and then LaFleur's just like, no, we got to get them 50-50 touches.
God, how do you not 70-30? Like, that's all.
I'm asking. At least 70. Like that's seriously, we're not asking for 100-0.
Right, you don't have to give him 90% of snaps. Just 70. Like Jamal Williams is a drive killer. Like he's not moving the chains. He's not, doing much at all. And it's just Aaron Jones is just way, way better.
Yeah. I have an Aaron Jones related trade that happened in one of my leagues that I want you to get your opinion on. Sure. A bad team traded Julio for Aaron Jones and Michael Gallup.
Oh, no. Oh, I don't like that.
For the Julio owner?
Well, which, like, at the time of the trade? Because I think whoever got Julio wins.
Okay, yeah, the better team got Julio.
Oh, yeah.
All right, interesting. I was a little bit more neutral on it. I thought it was like a more even trade, but
no, I think that was capitalizing on Aaron Jones' big week.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, let's pick this game. I'm going to take Green Bay.
Something tells me the Lions win this game.
The Lions do sneaky, weird shit like that.
So I'm going to take these bastards in this game.
All right, fair enough. Well, Vin, I think that's going to do it for us. Do you have anything to leave the people with going into week 6?
Nah, good luck. Stay focused. And I did say I would stop saying it's early at week 6. So start to panic after you lose this week.
Yeah, definitely start panicking, start freaking out, lose your mind, throw a brick through a wall, throw a brick through a window, throw a tire through a window. Do whatever you want to do. This has been a lot of fun. I've had a great time. And hopefully week 6 works out for you. And if it doesn't, or if it does, either way, we're going to be back here giving you all the information you need to know for week 7. So keep an eye out for that next week. For Vinny, I am Walsh. This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Later, podcast.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.